This is Love Never Fails with your host, Marilyn Redmond. Marilyn shares her experience, strength, and hope, and includes tools to help you find your inner strength for health, healing, and empowerment. So now, please welcome the host of Love Never Fails, Marilyn Redmond.
I am Marilyn Redmond, your host. You are listening to Love Never Fails. We are coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And I want to welcome back all my listeners. We are just growing leaps and bounds. Tell your friends, tell your acquaintances where you work or any place you know that somebody might be interested. We always have some interesting information that is not real common and topical in the general world, but it's real important that we learn new ideas and understandings, and we're still talking today about holistic health. It's an approach to life from the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our lives, rather than focusing on the illness or specific parts of the body. This was originally understood way back 2,500 years ago by the Chinese and other countries like India. About 150 years ago, were sharing this with their masters of the Far East and sharing this with people. And it was disclaimed early in the 1900s in our country. So in England, they called it blasphemy because it didn't follow typical medical procedures. But we're finding out how practical it is and how realistic it is and how natural it is, and that we can get past our illnesses and disease, and we do not have to stay sick because we can raise our consciousness, our vital life force, and our energy within us brings us out of illness. And it's not through using other toxic substances. We can become a whole person and respond to life in love and joy and really have the truth of who we are. So, when I first started to understand I could change my life, that was really life-changing. I had always been raised in a very dysfunctional family. And I was told what to do, and I did it. And if not, there was punishment, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. So I always just said, how high? And, of course, I jumped. And through my desperation and difficulties, I ended up at my minister's house living with his family a couple times. And on their walls were inspirational poems. And I read those poems and I felt good afterwards. It was like, wow, I can actually feel energy coming from the plaque on the wall. And this intrigued me, but I sure didn't understand how it worked in those days. I was just a real beginner. And I happened to have gone to a program out of town for a couple of days. It was supposed to be very helpful, and in some ways it was. They had us get rid of things that they called that weren't Christian. So I came home and got rid of some things that I thought they were talking about. Sadly, today I know that that wasn't really the problem. But to replace what I had gotten rid of, I found a wonderful plaque at the store. It was the right size for what I'd discarded, and the color was right. You ladies will understand how you want the decor to fit with your room. So this was a great plaque for that. So I put it back up on the wall where the other plaque had been. And a couple of days later, I thought, oh, I ought to read what it says on there. And so, to my surprise, it was the fruits of the Spirit out of Galatians. Now, I'm not trying to be preachy, but I'm telling you, the fruits of the Spirit, I read them one by one, and they clicked with me that that's what I needed to learn. I needed to know how those worked in my life and if I could actually put them into my life to make my life better. So I looked at the fruits of the Spirit and decided that I would take one a week and practice it in my life. And lo and behold, I started to feel changes. I could actually see things differently. It was affecting my life. And if you want to know more details about what we're talking about today, we're going to talk about affirmations, how you can have the affirming truths of who you are and especially put them up on the wall. They will actually change the energy in the room, and you'll find yourself growing into that new place of who we truly are. But we, sadly, through the years have been taught and conditioned to be in fear. You'll find fear everywhere, especially the nightly news. The latest killings, the latest burnings, the latest disasters, terrorist strikes, you name it, it's on what they call the news, which is not really informational, it's mostly scare. So we go into these situations to be fearful, and when we're in this lower energy of fear, we're not really in reality. We're running like little victims and children. Is this going to happen to us next? And we've been buffaloed, and we've been fooled and deceived to thinking that's what's going on in the world when there's a better, brighter picture below the surface. Appearances can be deceiving. In my book, Paradigm Busters Reveal the Real You, I have a whole chapter about holistic health. And throughout the whole book, I have affirmations for different parts of your life, including health and relationships and for yourself, of course. So today we're going to talk about those affirmations. They were new to me. I didn't realize that I was telling myself negative, fearful, victim type communication that kept me in the dilemma and disastrous relationship of a marriage I was in, and that was the messages from my family. So I just carried it with me into my marriage. It made sense to me because that's all I knew. I didn't know there was a better way. So I gradually found some organizations that helped me in recovery to learn about affirmations, to affirm the truth about myself in a simple, positive way. Now, I had not affirmed myself. I thought something was wrong with me. I wasn't a good person. And the things that kept me out of self-esteem, I didn't have any self-esteem. I didn't even know you were supposed to. I just kind of was a good walking robot. And that's who I was in those days. I went to this program and they passed out some affirmations of self-love. Now, I thought this was amazing because it says self-love is acknowledging and praising yourself verbally. I didn't come from a family that did that or taught me to do it. They couldn't even do it. So here was a whole page of affirmations of self-love. And I thought this was amazing because as I read them, I thought, well, isn't that terrific? But they were just words. And that afternoon, it was a beautiful sunny day. I happened to have a lawn swing out on the back porch patio area. And I sat in the sun and I started to read these affirmations. And at the bottom of the page, I felt so good inside. I felt a glow inside that I'd never felt before. I felt good and happy. My burdens were lifted for that period of time. It was marvelous. And I decided, gee, there must be something to this. So I put them up in my bathroom, and every time I brushed my teeth, morning and night, I would read my affirmations. Okay, we are here on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, and this is Love Never Fails. I am Marilyn Redmond, and when you tune back in, you're going to hear some affirmations for self-love. Stay tuned. I am your host, Marilyn Redmond. You're listening to Love Never Fails. We are on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Welcome back. I'm glad that you're waiting to hear some affirmations for self-esteem. They surely helped me. I've had these for over 30 years, and you know what? I can actually live these today. When I first saw them, they were words on paper. One of them was, I approve of all my actions. Another, I am confident in my ability. I give myself pleasure without guilt. I love my body and see only its good qualities. I give myself what I want and feel I deserve. I let myself win. I follow my intuition. If you would like a copy of the whole complete page of affirmations of self-love, I would be glad to send you a copy. Just email me at Marilyn, Marilyn, at angelicasgifts.com. That's my email, Marilyn at angelicasgifts.com. Ask for the affirmations for self-love. We're going to have more affirmations coming. And as I was using those affirmations, one day I was reading through them and I thought, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing. And it was the one about getting a massage. And I still get massages because what I've discovered is the reason we're having all this fear and we're in such a bad place is I never relaxed. And I go for massage to help my body and today it's my mind relax. So these are so practical. When I got into Edgar Cayce's Association for for Association and Enlightenment and Research, I'll get it right yet, I found out he was the father of holistic health. And he had a lot of information for our health that was not coming from doctors. In fact, he had about 4,000 readings. He channeled the information from the highest source and brought people information and answers to their medical problems. So the ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, that he founded, is a valuable source for finding out more about your health, and that has helped me along the years to find better answers, and I'm sharing some of those with you today. One of his quotes is, "There are in truth no incurable conditions." That really attracted me because I had a multitude of situations and conditions. And if there are no incurable conditions, that means I don't have to stay in addictions. I don't have to stay in mental illness. I don't have to stay in arthritis. I don't have to stay in all the difficulties that I had in my life, dysfunctional relationships, etc., domestic violence. I could move out of those. So what I'm finding out, the more I love myself, the more I have self-esteem, and the more I have good boundaries. And when you have self-esteem, you actually don't even need boundaries because you just express your feelings, and people that are healthy around you will listen to what you need and will comply. It works beautifully when you're healthy enough to do that. So I have created a chart to help people move up through the emotional ladder. In the Bible, they call it Jacob's ladder. And as you add these affirmations to your life, you raise your energy from low energy, fear, guilt, shame, jealousy, envy. Those, some people call it the 7 deadly sins. And you can move out of that. Your energy moves. It's meant to flow through your body. If it doesn't flow through your body, you get sick, and then you end up at the doctors. So I'm here to tell you that this is one way to help your health that you probably had not heard about before. And he also said that the Christ consciousness is the only source of healing for a physical and mental body. And what I have learned over time in this process of growing myself, I am growing into the Christ consciousness, back to what I was created in. And as we move up those ladders of consciousness, higher vibrations and energy and frequency, we become Christed, just like Jesus did. He became a mature person. He outgrew his faults and shortcomings. He gave up judgment, criticism, and he outgrew conditional love, which is what most of us got growing up, into unconditional love. And when you're in that space, that higher consciousness, you're not sick. That's your healthy, normal place. There is no illness. So what I'm telling you is can actually be life-changing. And the Bible even says, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. So we have several sources telling us to raise our consciousness and we'll be healthy. There actually is scientific proof for this. A scientist in Russia, biophysicist and molecular biologist named Peter Gerari, or something to that effect, he's Russian, and he proved the well-being and quality of life improves through prayer, hypnosis, meditation, and affirmations, that the energy from the words have energy. You can raise the energy. It can flow into higher consciousness. So his experiments are on YouTube if you want to know more about them. but it was a very ground-breaking place to say, gee, in meditation, I raise my consciousness. When I pray, I raise my consciousness into health. Dr. Larry Dosi wrote a book about how prayer can help you with your health. And so did Deepak Chopra talk about this. So we can heal ourselves through the power of our thoughts. And our thoughts are usually from our beliefs, but belief is only a thought, and you can change your thinking. You can change your beliefs to allow this wonderful, loving energy of the universe to flow through you, because now you're telling yourself the truth. Lack of truth is our dilemma, and we didn't have the truth in many cases through our growing up and being raised. And to heal ourselves through our thoughts has been kiwashed and by many situations, because that doesn't sell drugs for the companies that sell them to make their profits. So there are other ways to heal ourselves. There are options and alternatives. And affirmations help you with the physical part, which we talked about last time. You can have affirmations about health. And last time we talked about detoxing our bodies, because that also stops the flow of energy. So today we're talking about the mental energies that we are trying to open up into the truth of who we are. And the first time I came across new affirmations beyond the ones I got at treatment was from Shad Helmsetter. Now, he was around 30-some years ago, still is. He's, of course, when you see, I saw pictures of him today on the internet compared to the picture in the book. Of course, he's not the same age. I thought, oh, that doesn't look like him, but it was. His book, The Self-Talk Solution, has marvelous affirmations. 30 years ago, he had tapes. That dates my age because we had tape recorders in those days. He had a library of tapes for every part of your life where you could affirm the truth about yourself and come out of any situation. And I was surprised when my husband, who was also in recovery, wanted to get those tapes, and he bought them. And at first I thought, what a waste of money these are. But when he left the tapes, when he left home, I started listening to them and realized how valuable they were. The affirmations were actually helping me in ways I had not even thought about. I hadn't even realized I didn't have self-esteem. But one of the first ones I listened to was called Believing in Incredible You. Incredible You. And so I want you to come back and find out how incredible you are. Stay tuned. I am Marilyn Redmond. You are listening to Love Never Fails. We are on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. See you in a minute. I am Marilyn Redmond. You are listening to Love Never Fails. We are on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio and talking about affirmations today. I was talking about Shad Helmsetter as we changed from the commercial today. If you are interested in self-help talk tapes, and now they have them in a more current version, I forgot what that was, but anyway, you can download apps and that kind of thing. You can reach the information at www.selftalkplus.com. Or you could put his name, Shad Helmsetter, into Google. You'll, of course, get the information you're looking for, too. But at selftalkplus.com, you'll find his actual website and what he had to say for believing in the incredible you. And I'm going to quote here what the affirmations are. I know that greatness begins in the minds of the great. I know that what I believe about myself is what I will become. So I believe in the best for myself. The next one, I am practical and realistic, and I keep my feet on solid ground, but I also give myself the freedom to live up to my fullest expectations. And another is I never limit myself by the short-sighted beliefs of others. Instead, I open myself up to the broad horizons of unlimited possibility. And of course, there's several more that go along, and you repeat these in your mind as he's saying them on the air, tape or whatever you're listening to. For building self-esteem, a couple affirmations he had are, I really am very special. I like who I am. I feel good about myself. It's true that there really is no one else like me in the entire world. There never was another me before, and there will never be another me again. I wanted to be somebody, and now I know I am. I would rather be the me than anyone else in the world. And it goes on with a lot more in that grouping. And he asks them for overcoming negativity, for weight, for every obstacles in your life, improving your concentration, speaking when writing with confidence, every affirmation you could desire. You can get them free for a 30-day trial on his site. On the internet. So give them a shot, give them a try. I found them, I used those were my basis for a long time. And if you have questions about your health or affirmations that you would like, we're going to talk about that in the next section. So 866-451-1451. Call in if you have questions about your health, or that you might affirm your health with affirmations that will do that. 866-451-1451. They'll help with you with any problem you have. You could turn around from negative to positive. That's the key. Whenever you hear yourself say something negative in your head, or with a friend. I had a friend telling me something one day, and I said, "Do you realize what you're telling yourself?" And she said, "What?" And she says, "Oh, I don't want to say it that way. That's not what I want." So she was really grateful that I pointed it out to her. You can do it for yourself. In your mind, you can say, "Oh, that's not what I want to really say," and change it into something positive. You can do it yourself if you're really observant. It works well. I've done it. I've learned to change my talking and speaking, because if we have positive thinking, positive communication, and positive action in our life, we get terrific results. We don't get the results from fear, which are irrational. We get the results from feeling good, and it just gets better. I also want to share with you another book, which is the one that helped me so much with my health conditions. And that book is by Louise Hay. Sadly, she recently passed over to the other side. She did a world of good for holistic health and for healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so our lives could be restored. And in her little book, Heal Your Body, it's worth $1 million. It's just a little small book, but she lists the mental causes for physical illness and the metaphysical way to overcome them, which are affirmations. So her little book doesn't look impressive at all, but it's worth every cent. It's not even expensive. I really suggest everyone should have it in their library. It's called Heal Your Body by Louise L. Hay. The mental causes for physical illness and the metaphysical way to overcome them. Now, what I'd like to do is share some of these illnesses, and what she says is the affirmation to put yourself back in the place of your truth of who you are, your good health, was that you originally were created with. We are affirming the truth that we are healthy beings, that we have healthy lifestyles, that we have healthy interaction with other people, that we love ourselves because we were created in love. And these affirmations affirm who we truly are. They are usually short, positive, and are always very truthful. So they give your brain the messages you didn't get growing up. In my case, anyway, I was not told I was loved. I was not told I was successful. I had a lot of rewards and wonderful experiences. Nobody said you did a great job. I was valedictorian and never got a present, even a card, or I was, totally ignored when I got soloed with a symphony in another town through college. I auditioned and soloed with a symphony, and I never got any. My parents didn't say, "Well, we're proud of you. You've worked hard for this over all the years of practicing." Nothing good ever came out of my parents' mouth for me to have that value or self-esteem. So, and we can do it with our health too. So if you're thinking about, well, I have this condition and I keep taking pills, well, you might want to add some positive thinking so the pills aren't going to be necessary. One of the things that people are often concerned about is aging. Everybody seems, the medical profession and everybody has been taught, well, we grow old. Well, guess what? We're in a time frame on planet Earth where our life is going to be extended, and we are already living longer than we have prior. And as that higher energy from the photon belt is being extended and sent to Earth, we have the energy and ability to move back into Christ consciousness, to move back into maturity where we don't react like little kids and become sick. So it's important to know that it's been a social belief, and we can change our belief. It's only a thought, and change your thought to an affirmation. We can change our old thinking. We can get out of our fear of being our old self and rejection of the now. See, this is what Alzheimer's is people are still living in their old past memories, and they're afraid to live right now because it's too scary to be in the now. We'll talk about that when we come back, because we don't have to have aging like we have currently. We don't have to have Alzheimer's. So come on back. I am Marilyn Redmond, and you are listening to Love Never Fails. We are coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. I am your host, Marilyn Redmond. You are listening to Love Never Fails, and we are on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We've been talking about affirmations this afternoon. I've been having a good time trying to explain this to you. I hope it's making sense to you that we can change our thoughts into positive thinking. It affects our whole life, what we're thinking, what we're communicating with others, and what our behaviors will change into healthy, functional ways. And that, of course, will bring better relationships, better health, and better feelings for our living too. And this great little book by Louise Hay called Heal Your Body is full of affirmations for your health. So if you have questions or a health problem, you want to call in 866-451-1451. Tell us what your condition, situation, illness, or sickness is, and I will be glad to share what Louise Hay had to say to tell yourself that you can actually claim your health. You don't have to stay sick. I was told I was going to be bipolar disordered the rest of my life, and I'd have to stay on the medicines. Well, I'm here to tell you I've been off all prescriptions for 17 years, and when I got off the prescriptions, I got clear-headed enough to be able to respond in loving ways to the challenges of life, and I didn't have to run away with a pill to hide from what I had to deal with. I learned healthy behaviors. I grew into handling them in better ways. And with my clear head, I could actually make the change from my old behavior into finding these affirmations to help me move into a healthy life. And I have been declared sane. You do not have to stay in these medical situations all your life. We have been hoodwinked, you might say. People in the Bible lived hundreds of years, we're told. That is real. We were created to have much longer lives. It's only those that are trying to kill us off with toxic food, toxic air, toxic things in our lifestyle, that are causing that flow of the vital life force, the energy that sustains us, the prana, some people call it the chi. So whatever your culture calls that vital life force, that is the energy in you that brings all that nutrition and love to your life so it grows. Nothing grows in the dark, and so we have to come out into the light. We can move our consciousness into the light where the love is and where the health is. And if you are concerned about health and aging problems, I would like to share her affirmation. I love and accept myself at every age. Each moment in life is perfect. Now, I'd just like to share a short story about a relative who died of Alzheimer's. And what I know is that she was raised in a dysfunctional situation where she saw herself as a victim and needing a man to be in her life to take care of her. When her husband died, she gave up living. She survived well enough to be able to feed her 5 children and have a house, but when she got older, she was still living in the past. He wasn't there for her to take care of her. And she didn't want to take care of herself. She didn't want to grow up. So she kept her thinking in the past, which we call Alzheimer's, and never could move into the now and have gratitude for that she was still alive and had her family and her health could be perfect if she wanted it to be, but she just gave up living and gave up all her rights to to grow up. She refused to face reality and have that experience. So, it's sad, but when we learn that we have choices of how we think, we don't have to think ourselves sick anymore. So it's important to tell yourself, in this case, I love and accept myself at every age. Each moment in life is perfect. If you have an illness yourself and you're curious about an affirmation for us, call us at 866-451-1451. I've had a lot of people asking me questions recently about anxiety. And if you have anxiety, that means you are in a form of fear. Fear brings on anxiety and selfishness, self-centeredness, self-seeking. Anything negative is based in some kind of fear. And that means you're not trusting. You're not trusting that flow of the vital life force to sustain you and the process of life that we grow into higher places out of our comfort zone. Might be a little uncomfortable at first, but I would get into that anxiety. I say, oh, I must be growing. That's really good. And I put myself in the arms of God's love, and I relax in the love of the universe, and I don't have anxiety anymore. And Louise Hay says to tell yourself, I love and approve of myself, and I trust the process of life. I am safe. So anxiety is a lack of safety. So when you know you're safe in the universe, it's a loving force that supports you in all parts of your life. There's nothing out there that can harm you unless you think it will. All things work for good in those that are on the path of love and growing, because you're moving into more and more of that. So only good things can come. So this is what we're talking about today, is actually life-changing by changing your thinking. A lot of people have cancer. I heard one doctor say it's a socially acceptable way to die. Some people have said that they are some emotional problem is eating away at them. So see, when you get to the root cause of these situations, you can heal them. And we're going to talk about that next week, is the emotional aspects of this part of getting ourselves into being whole people. We're gluing back the woundedness of our experience so that we become whole spirits. And when we aren't whole, we get sick. So what can I tell myself to become whole again? And if I have cancer, I would be telling myself, that's fortunately not going to happen to me, I've been told, but it comes from deep hurt, long-standing resentment, deep secret or grief eating away at self, carrying hatreds, and what's the use? Now, those causes can be different for everyone. There will never be one cure for cancer. Everybody is an individual with their own problems, which you have to find the root cause of. But you can tell yourself, I lovingly forgive and release all of the past. I choose to fill my world with joy. I love and approve of myself. So cancer can be solved not with a medical protocol, but with how you want to change your lifestyle into love. I am Marilyn Redmond. I am your host. You're listening to Love Never Fails. We are on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Stay tuned for more affirmations. I am Marilyn Redmond. You are listening to Love Never Fails. We are coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Welcome back. We're talking about affirmations to affirm our health right now. And we're so pleased to have you here. And if you have your own illness, you want an affirmation, I'll share it with you, 866-451-1451. If you are looking for lists of affirmations to help you, use the book Paradigm Busters, Reveal the Real You. There's many various kinds of lists for different parts of your life. If you're concerned about how this works in your life, my book, The Real Meaning of 2012, Bringing a New Paradigm of Heaven to Earth, explains what I'm talking about today. It's a short little book, but very valuable if you want more understanding of how all this comes together in your life. So The Real Meaning of 2012 is a really good book to pick up, quick and easy to read, but it'll help you understand what we're talking about today. So we're talking right now about health issues. And if you have cataracts, it could be that there's a problem in your inability to see ahead with joy. Dark future. And Louise Hay's answer for her affirmation is life is eternal, filled with joy. I look forward to every moment. And I don't think I'm going to have cataracts because, my life was terrible, horrible, and awful for many, many years. But today, it just is getting better and better. It actually surprises me at times with things popping up in my life I didn't even expect. When we open up that channel for the energy to flow through us in the highest consciousness, the highest vibrations, all things will be added. And that's in the Bible, too. If you are looking for references, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things will be added. And the joy I have in my life today is not a place, it's within. Heaven is not a place, it's within you. You can put yourself in heaven on earth with these affirmations. You can leave the despair and the depression and the illnesses behind and live in the now. And that's been the problem. People are not grown into enjoying their life right now because of all the fear around us that fearmongers bring on. So know that you don't have to believe in the fear. It's an illusion. We're moving beyond it. My book, Finding Reality Beyond Fear, shows my journey out of the hell into the heaven on earth and how you can do it too. So if you are looking for information to further help your journey, your spiritual journey, the books are there on Amazon.com on my author page. And I want you to know that there was a wonderful lady, I shouldn't say was, but she's still wonderful. Mary Neal is a doctor who had a near-death experience. And I want to share this with you because it's made such a difference in my life. She had a near-death experience in Chile. She was doing a kayak trip with her husband, who was a doctor. When her children got old enough, she felt it was a good time for her and her husband to go off on this trip that they'd been wanting to take for some time. While she was going down the rapids, she got caught under a rock. And they couldn't find her at first because she was upside down, lodged under the water. When they did find her, they clocked it from that point on to 30 minutes under the water till they could get her out. Now, that, people, means brain dead. They assumed she was brain dead when they pulled her out of the water. She was damaged in some such ways that they put her on the kayak, carried her to a little village. Now, I've been in Chile. There's nothing between Santiago and into the jungles of Chile. They found a little village along a path, and they put her on the kayak with splints. Her husband knew how to splint the broken bones so they could get her back home to Wyoming. And her comment was, no medical help till I get home. So they followed her information, and she wasn't in pain. There was no pain. I believe that's because she was in shock. When she finally got into L.A., they transferred her into another plane for Wyoming, got to the hospital. She went into pain big time. And so she had this near-death experience while she was under the water, however, and she went through physical therapy when she got home to get her ability to function again, back working. And she wrote 2 books, wonderful books, that I think that you would be interested in. Proof of Heaven is her book about her near-death experience, and 7 Lessons from Heaven are marvelous books. I've read the 7 Lessons from Heaven, and I've heard her story personally. So she has a very good message for us, and it's about living in the now, living in reality. When she had her near-death experience, they told her on the other side to repeat this daily and often. I even tell myself at night when I wake up in the middle of the night, I am in joy, gratitude, and the presence of God. Sometimes I'll say the presence of love because God is love. But she said joy, gratitude, and the presence of love. She is a practicing physician. She was able to pass the tests all over again to become a doctor. They didn't think she could do it, people. She was considered brain dead, and she came back and has a life today with her family that she enjoys. She travels around telling her stories. She writes her books to help people, that we can live in the now. We can live in that love. We don't have to stay sick. And she, to me, is the ultimate inspiration. This works, people. So tell yourself, starting right now, I am in joy, I am in gratitude, I am in the presence of God. And this works. I tell it to myself daily. My life has improved immensely. I also use affirmations when I take flower essences, and we're going to have a guest in another month. The month of June, Diana Pepper will be here to tell us all about flower essences, and I use affirmations with them. It's like a double dose of supporting myself. So we are really glad to have you here today. If you have a question about your health problem, you can still call in. So don't think it's too late. 866-451-1451. If you want a list of the affirmations I started out with, they're the ones I started out with for self-love, I will be glad to email you a list of the affirmations. Marilyn at angelicasgifts.com. So there's lots of opportunities. There's lots of ways to help yourself. You might want to connect with other people that have affirmations, but I'm a big believer. I've used Shad Helmsetter's. I've used Louise Hay. I've used Catherine Ponders, who years back is an old name for this. And we have current people doing it too with Dr. Dossi and Deepak Chopra. So it's not new, it's not strange, it's not weird to tell yourself you're a good person and you deserve a good life and you deserve to live in joy and be healthy. So give yourself a treat, give yourself a gift, and let yourself know that you are a special person and we all love you. I am your host, Marilyn Redmond. You are listening to Love Never Fails, and this is Love Never Fails on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And be tuned for the last part. Find out what's going on next. I am Marilyn Redmond. This is Love Never Fails. We are on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. So glad to have you back. You still can call in at 866-451-1451. We may have a question here to answer yet today. I've been talking about affirmations where we move out of our old thinking, our old ideas, our old beliefs. Beliefs are just a thought, and you can change your thoughts. So I don't have to believe like other people have told me culturally, church-wise, health-wise, other parts of education even, There's all kinds of misunderstandings and negativity that's been forced on us, and we get to think for ourselves today and get well. We get to get whole, healthy, and happy in our lives and be a more mature person who has a bright future. We don't have to have cataracts. We don't have to have heart problems because we're a fear. We are not letting that vital life force flow through us to give us the energy that we need for health. And we've blocked our heart and shut off our heart from that vital life force. When you open up your heart and let the vital life force energy within you flow through you, that's when the health happens. That's the issue. Are you brave enough? Are you courageous enough? Are you to take that first step to say, I'm not going to keep shut down in fear. I'm going to open up my heart. I'm going to let that love fill me. I'm going to let that love share it with others, because every time you share it with others, you're going to get healthier. The more love you have in your heart and share it with others, that's the answer. We are growing into a loving society. We are in the throes of an awakening, a spiritual awakening, returning to the source of love with which we were created. And we have to ask it in. So prayer is, we're going to talk about that in another one of our talks here. So we ask that love to come into our hearts. We are dedicated to letting our lives be filled with that love so we can pass it on to others. And we go into service showing others that we are helpful and there for them in whatever way we can help them out. We grow because we help them grow. We grow healthier because we help them grow healthier. We help them grow up in the process, guess what? We're growing up out of the childish behaviors and thinking and emotions. And next week is about emotions. Next week, we're going to talk about fear, resentment, anger, shame, those emotions that kept us from being healthy. We don't have to feel that way anymore, people. I want to give you the answers to be free from your ego. That book, The Real Meaning of 2012, explains, let's get rid of the ego. We don't have to let it run our lives anymore. We can just put it back down the way it was intended to be, that we are healthy, wonderful people, and not let it get exaggerated out of fear to protect us. We don't have to protect ourselves from fear. We don't have to defend ourselves from harm. When we're healthy and whole, we act in healthy, whole ways, and we are home free, so to speak. So pick the good thoughts and use those good thoughts for yourself and for others. That's affirmations. So next week, we're talking about the emotional changes we can make. And I want you to know that we have a question from Ian Russell, and he says, what are some TV series that changed your life? I would like to improve my self-consciousness and confidence. Well, I thought that was kind of fit in with today's topic in a way. What can we do to improve our self-confidence and self-consciousness? And I think the first show I saw that helped me with that was the show with Marlo Thomas, That Girl. And she was living in New York independently, trying to get an acting career going. Of course, Mary Tyler Moore was an independent young woman in the career field, trying to make it on her own. That had a huge impact. And the shows that were called Highway to Heaven were spiritually oriented and showed me healthy ways to resolve issues in life. So those were answers I'm glad to share with you. I want you to be sure and check my my website at Marilyn. At angelicasgifts.com is my website. angelicasgifts.com. My books are on amazon.com. My lectures and inspirational information and interviews are on YouTube. And I have marilynredmondbooks.blogspot.com for my blog, and I try to keep it up to date. So we're glad you were here today, and we are so pleased that you are joining us. And next week we'll talk about the emotional changes we can make. We don't have to stay in those old feelings that bring us down. We can raise up into the joy, which Neal told us about. Joy, gratitude, and presence of love. Stay in that today and have a really great day coming today, and use that every day and you'll notice a change.
You've been listening to Love Never Fails with your host, Marilyn Redmond. Go beyond old ideas and understandings and hear Marilyn's solutions to healing and a higher consciousness. Each week, here on Marilyn Redmond's Love Never Fails.